Welcome to another episode of the Executive Exclusive. I'm your County Executive, Julie Giordano, and hopefully everybody remembers us, Bunk, because it has been a long time since we have done a show. So again, with me is Director of Administration, Bunky Luffman. So again, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, great to be here as always.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 4 weeks. I mean, it's been a lot of time. So we've had 2 council meetings, and we do not have enough time to cover every single thing that was covered. And we talked a little bit about that first council meeting at the beginning of March. Was pretty productive meeting. The second one in March, we didn't get as much county business done as we wanted to, but we are going to talk about a couple of things, so that way we can keep our viewers up to date. So first thing, though, is we have to give some condolence. I mean, they are going through a lot over on the other side of the bridge. So obviously this morning, I got a phone call about 4 o'clock this morning. Of course, the Francis Scott Key Bridge has collapsed. Bug, can you just talk about what detrimental effects that's going to have on Baltimore right now?
So Baltimore, one of the things when I was in the Hogan administration that we always talked about was we were like always besting the record for most cargo that port had ever done. And so that port has been on an upward trajectory for several years now. This bridge is where the cargo ships need to go under, both in and out. So it is a key spot, and it's really the only way to get to the port. So this is a key avenue that those ships use, those container ships. So this potentially, could impact a lot of things that are on their way to America or leaving America, imports and exports. And it just really depends on what's queued up on those ships, how long it takes for them to sort of do the rescue mission, and hopefully that everyone is rescued. It's such breaking news that we don't know yet, and also they need to remove the debris, make sure it's safe. One of the safety aspects, though, is that these large ships, it's not a captain from a different part of the world that's captaining this. There's Chesapeake Pilot Association, so this is a pilot are on these ships that they have to contract with that knows the channels and knows how to get up to the port. So I don't want to speculate on what happened, other than it's not a good result.
No.
That bridge is a highly trafficked area. If there's any silver lining, it's that it happened really early in the morning, like 1:30 in the morning or so, because this would have been way worse if it had been during rush hour in the morning or night, or you can imagine. And then also there was a report that the captain or someone on the ship did call out Mayday, which allowed Maryland Department of Transportation to stop people from coming on the bridge. And it appears, as of now, and that there wasn't traffic at the time of the collapse, that they had stopped it in time. Again, this is very fresh and new, so in the coming days and weeks, we'll know a lot more.
Yeah, so I spoke to Governor Moore this morning, and I told him that our emergency services team was at his disposal if he needed us. So they were, kind of standing by the phones, looking at their emails, kind of evaluating the situation. I also saw a couple of tweets and things like that. I guess, are they still called tweets with it being on X, I guess? But, we saw some, messages coming in from places like Chicago and New York. So it is definitely going to be an all hands on deck effort. Because it's not just affecting the people in Baltimore, it's really affecting this worldwide. And so it's going to be very important for us to hopefully not disrupt that too much, but to make sure, obviously first and foremost, make sure everybody's, okay. Are they able to rescue people, that kind of stuff. But then, kind of seeing what that's going to look like. So I can't even imagine, right now what everybody is going through right now. So thoughts, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody over there, the rescue workers, our first responders that are, working on that, government officials, just everybody, the families, of course, that are affected by this. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
And those first responders rushed in. I believe the weather around 1 a.m. this morning was probably in 40 degrees, so you can imagine the temperature of the water. And they rushed in there, and it is part of their job, but that's incredible heroism that you would rush in during something like this, not knowing a lot of facts because it just happened, the bridge just collapsed, you have no idea of every particular, every contingency, and you rush in there anyway to save people's lives. I mean, that's just a incredible act of heroism on the first responders' part.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm sure, you know, more news will come out, more information will come out, and we'll kind of stay up to date on that as well. So moving on from that, speaking of information, we are going to be doing our State of the County. It is going to be a little bit later this year. We were right in the middle of budget season. I don't really know what we were thinking last year to do that to us and to our department heads, but we are going to be having our State of the County on April 11th at 2 p.m. You can watch it live. You can watch it recorded on PAC 14 later on. So our friends at PAC 14 will be helping us out there. And can you just talk a little bit about why is the state of the county important? So we have the state of the county, the state of the state, the state of the country, but why is the state of the county important?
So this is something on federally, this started when, you know, President Washington would actually just do a letter, and it evolved into a presentation. Now, some people do these states of, you know, their government as a one-person thing, but the model you went with last year, which was really good, really well received, was we have several department heads that will present. And it's incredibly important because it keeps the citizens involved and in what county government is. There are certain things that, of course, as a citizen, for instance, in state government or federal government, when I think of those things, I may think of certain activities, but maybe my view only shows me 20% and there's all this other stuff. So this really gives a wide breadth of everything that we're tasked with to do with a county government, and then gives you a status update on it, which is, you know, incredibly useful and important information.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really want the citizens to feel connected to our department heads. I want them to know who the head of HR is. I want them to see the director of finance, because I think it's really important for them to know that these are people, they are at work every single day, and without them and without their knowledge and expertise, like, we would not be able to run this county. And so it's one thing for a county leader, and this is just my perspective, but it's one thing for a county leader to stand up and give the presentation and give the facts and where we're going and what our direction is. But I think it's quite another when you see such a unified front coming together saying, this is our vision, and it's not just the executive's vision, it is Wacomico County's vision, and this is where we are. And I think it's important, and who better to tell us than those who are in it every single day.
Absolutely.
So we're excited about that. Again, April 11th at 2 p.m. It will be in council chambers, so it will be open to the public. If you want to see it live, you can. You can watch it live, or you'll be able to watch it later on, thanks to our friends at PAC 14. So we're excited about that. Speaking of PAC 14, they actually filmed one of our meetings, which was our budget meeting, on March 11th. So I have to give credit to Wacomico County Public Schools because they came out in full force. So our budget meeting, again, was held at the Civic Center, and it is an opportunity. It is not a time for, again, the executive to talk about the budget, but is for the public to come in and put their input. And what seemed to be the driving force of Wacomico County Public Schools.
Absolutely, the building of a new school in Fruitland.
Yes, Fruitland Primary. So I do have to give them credit because not only did they have the superintendent up there speaking, and you have your higher ups, but you had the principal there, and you had teachers there and parents there all talking about how important this is to the community. And just the other day, and I have to give a shout out to Fruitland Primary, there was a second grade class that wrote letters to us, to me as the executive, asking for a new school. It was one of their social studies projects. And I do have to say, I mean, it was pretty amazing, like, hearing it in their voices, as to how important this is. So I have to give them a lot of credit for that. And so it's something that we are looking at, for the budget. So we'll see kind of how that works. And we understand the community support behind it. And I think that that's important.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're excited about that. And then I can't remember, was there a lot of other stuff that they talked? I feel like Fruitland was the driving force. Oh, I know State's Attorney Jamie Dykes, she was there and she spoke about salaries, which we are right on par with that. So for a long time, I feel like our employees, we know that the government has good benefits. We know that, we don't pay as much as the private sector, but I do feel like we have fallen behind with our employees, even comparatively to other governments. So I feel like that has been kind of a driving force of this budget, making sure that our people, that work in the government are taken care of. We work on retention, we work on recruitment, but we need to probably beef up retention a little bit. So
absolutely, and the bars have really moved. So, I'm from Del Mar, grew up here. So at one point, when I was growing up, we had far fewer like corporate entities, even on things like a Starbucks or things like that, and entities that offer sort of corporate benefits. So our marketplace is radically different for employees than it was in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s. As we've sort of grown out, as Salisbury's grown out, as we've attracted more businesses here, corporate businesses specifically. So now there are places where you can work and you have, a 401k, you have these retirement things, you have better benefits packages, where when I first started with the city of Salisbury when I was 15 in the traffic department, and being a weed buster and all that, like at the time, city of Salisbury, county, our benefits packages, pensions, they were sort of cream of the crop, and they're still incredibly good. We're still very good and probably better than a lot of private sector folks on that. But the private sector has really narrowed the gap, and it's made it much more competitive for us to get employees. But because of that, it's also harder for us to retain employees because there's other people that are looking at our talent pool, both other local governments and the private sector, at luring them away. And we've both hired people from other local governments ourselves, right. And we've also had other local governments hire our people. So there's sort of a constant battle, and so you have to invest in both sides, recruitment and retainment.
Yeah, and it seems to me, I don't know how the scales were before, but it does seem to me, and we're trying to avoid this, we want people to stay with us, you know what I mean? Because in our line of work, experience and being out in our county and dealing with different situations is so imperative because of that institutional knowledge that you gain. So we can no longer be the person or the entity that has people for 1 or 2 years, they gain that experience and then they go off to the public sector. And I know that that's going to happen in some aspects, but we're really trying to stop that, where we love training people, we love giving them those tools, but we also want them to stay with us and utilize them for our county. So we just have some things that we probably need to work on when it comes to that. So, and then we had 2 appointments that I want to talk about. So we were able to fill our personnel board, and none other than Matt Kramer. So can you, for those people who don't know who he is, can you just briefly tell like how institutionally amazing Matt Kramer is and how imperative he is in this county?
So recently, and it was actually in the same conversation where I asked him if he'd be interested in being on the personnel board, I asked him, I said, when did you start as county administrator? And he said 1973. And I started laughing because that was the year I was born. I'm 50. So literally, and he was county administrator before we had the executive office. So it was it would be a multiple position thing now, where he would do my position administrating and overseeing sort of day-to-day operations, as well as sort of Laura Hurley's council administration, where they would help craft the legislative agenda and all the inner workings of the council or commission at that time. So it was a massive job, and he did it for several decades and did it very well. He's very highly respected, and we are really incredibly blessed to have him. And he's already the chairman of our Metropolitan Planning Organization, so it was good that he allowed us to add him to another board.
Yeah, and we are very grateful for him, and there's just nobody better. So we're really excited about that. And we also had Sarah Guy. She's joining us for the school board, or the School Building Commission, which is a commission that you serve on, so that'll be great. And then we have 2 other topics that we wanted to talk about. The first one is the collective bargaining agreement. So our deputies worked really hard, got signatures, got it put on the ballot, and they were able to get this collective bargaining agreement. So it is the only union that we have within Wicomico County, but we decided to kind of approach this a little bit differently. So in the past that they've done their bargaining units, it's very much almost like sterile, stagnant environment. It's just, their attorneys are on one side with them and we're with our attorneys on the other. And it's just very much the attorneys kind of talking back and forth. And we decided to take another route this time. And I do have to say, I think I'm kind of pleased as to how we were able to do it. And I don't know if you've done union negotiations and anything else that you've done, but how did you feel about how the conversation went?
No, I thought it went really well. Of course, there's it's a negotiation, so that takes on a certain thing. But I think that sometimes negotiations the rhetoric gets too hot and it gets really confrontational. And this This did not. So this was really good that we were able to sit down, you know, with the police officers and work something out in a very civil, conversational manner.
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to meet with them, and I think we got so much work done just having a conversation that didn't involve attorneys. So we're not using taxpayer dollars, you know, in that aspect. And once we were able to come up with a good draft that I think both of us felt like maybe could use some tweaks on both sides, and that's where the lawyers came in, where they're using their legal expertise to make sure that everything sort of reads clearly. Sometimes, though, I feel like lawyers, their language can be a little bit tricky to understand, but it is what it is. But we have Cheryl Brown and Boyd Rutherford, so our former Lieutenant Governor, working on this, so I feel very confident. And they have Kieran Dowdy, who has been with them for a while, and you know, so I think that they feel confident and comfortable with him. And so at this point in time, we think that we are at a really, really good place. They're going to kind of clean some things up, and now I think the attorneys are going to get together, and then I think we'll have one final meeting. So I'm really pleased at how it went, and I'm hoping that the next time we have to do this, because if everything goes through, this will be a 2-year negotiation. We'll be doing this again with me before an election. That you know, that it does go as smoothly as it did. So, oh yeah, I'm excited about that. And then the last thing, which is like the elephant in the room, of course, is the safari at the Quarry. So I do have to say, and think I have said this numerous times, never in my life did I think that a family-friendly event that is ending at 5, that is just one weekend out of the year, trying something new, bringing in people to Wicomico County to eat in our restaurants and stay in our hotels and being an economic driver for this area in something that you have to travel so far to get to. You know, there's not very many off-road, you know, event places, you know, to do these. I didn't think it would stir up as much concern as it has. And so I do have to commend the people of Shadow Hills, because I know that they're concerned for their community. And I feel that like a lot of their questions have been answered probably numerous times. And so I'm hoping that as we move forward and get closer to the event, that that things sort of simmer down. But if for some reason you have not heard about our Safari at the Quarry event, we have a piece of land that we have out on Conley Mill Road, and it kind of lends itself for this type of event. We're using it to get, you know, some dirt for our landfill, but there are trails that are all the way through this beautiful piece of property. And so we're hoping to try a new event here in Wicomico County that is just for one weekend. And Kylan Barn is partnering with us, which is monumental in this. And we're really excited. We're really excited for this event. And so I'm hoping that you'll check it out. You know, go to the website, safariatthequarry.com. I think they're on Facebook as well. This is going to be a really cool off-road Jeep event for people to hop in their Jeeps, go onto our property, you know, there's different trails for them to follow between 5 and 10 miles an hour. And it's just good, clean, family fun. And I really hope that the event is successful. I really hope that people understand that we have the best of intentions with this. This is not something that we're trying to destroy a community or anything like that. You know, we're really hoping that it will bring people into Wicomico County and have a really fun event. And I don't know if you want to comment any more on that, but...
Yeah, I really think this is the thing to really highlight. This is these vehicles were going very slow. This is not some sort of crazy mud hop or anything like that. And these are street legal Jeeps. So not the sort of things that, you know, maybe is on television or things like that. These are street legal Jeeps. They're going to be slow, and they're going to sort of tour around, and then they're going to leave and go to Kylan Barn and Delmar. So it's not, I think once the event happens, because there's only so much we can say, even when we address some of the questions, that the responses from some people is, but what if? That's sort of what we keep going. And it's like, I think at this point we've answered most, if not all, the questions we've gotten. But let's let the event play out, and you know, we'll see what happens after that. We'll do an action item. We'll do an action report after action report, where we'll sit down. We'll talk to the person who puts the event on. We'll see what the economic impact is. We're going to do an economic impact study, and then, you know, we'll go from there.
Yeah, exactly. And I would hope that, and I feel like anytime you try something new, I think everybody, there are concerns, there's excitement, and I get that, and I really hope that people will see the benefit of this. And I think that we are utilizing a space that is not being used for anything else. There's one little part of it that we're getting dirt from for our landfill, but other than that, the landscape part of it is not being utilized for anything right now. And so to be able to bring an event here that literally is 2 days, and again, it's ending at 5, we're not going to be disrupting anybody at nighttime or anything like that. I think you're right. I mean, if we could just, let the event happen, see how it goes. If it's not successful, we won't do it again, because we're not going to bring unsuccessful events, But I have a feeling, there are just so many people that are really excited about it. And I want everyone to know there were a lot of questions that have been asked. And so you may be thinking of some, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Our goal, honestly, my next executive exclusive, I plan to have Brad Hoffman with me. He is with Livewire, and he is who we did our MOU with. He is going to kind of be leading the pack of this event. And so there are going to be some questions that I ask him, and that way it's kind of memorialized, that we've had these conversations and how exciting, this event is going to be. And so he'll be able to answer probably a lot more questions once we have him in here. And if you haven't seen it, I can't remember, I think it was around December. I think it was when Brad was in here was December. I think it was December 5th. If you go back to that meeting, you will see a presentation done by Brad, and he did an amazing job. He showed a video and everything else. So if you haven't seen that, I suggest you go back and listen to everything that he said then, and also we will have him here on the executive exclusive, and we can kind of talk through, some of those questions. So anything else you want to add about Safari at the Quarry?
No, I think that about covers it.
Okay, yeah. I do want to tell you all, before we kind of sign off here, we have some exciting things going on in Wicomico County. And, some of them we can't talk about because some of them were in closed door, but I have a feeling over the next couple months we're going to have some really exciting announcements. So make sure you stay tuned, and I'm sure that you'll hear all about them. So. All right, Bunk. Well, that is it. And I apologize that we were gone for such a long period of time. We are right in the middle of budget season. And so it was just crazy. We had days and days of budget meetings. And so we had Pam here last time that was kind of talking us through what that process is going to look like. And she was not lying when she said we were going to be busy. So we have, been kind of dealing with that. And we are at the tail end of that. And we are 2 weeks ahead of schedule with the budget. Right. So that is very exciting. So. Other than that, that is all we have for you today. And make sure that you stay tuned for our next episode, especially with us having Brad Hoffman. Not that we don't love having you, Bunky. Thank you all. Have a great day.